per year. And so you want it done, you want them to take over, you've got to give them an incentive. So I think we should immediately stop patrolling the streets. That's a policeman's job. It's not the work of the Army. We're not fighting a military battle. We're in a different type of warfare right now. So the sooner we recognize that, the sooner we can make sure that no more Americans will die. We have a lot of goodness in this country, and we should promote it, but never through the barrel of a gun. We should do it by setting good standards, motivating people, and have them want to emulate us. But you can't enforce our goodness like the neocons preach with an armed force. It doesn't work. Woodrow Wilson was telling us about that in promoting democracy a long time ago. It doesn't work, and we have to admit it.
Thank you, Congressman. Let me bring Congressman Paul. What's the most pressing moral issue in the United States right now?
I think it is the acceptance just recently that we now promote preemptive war. I do not believe that's part of the American tradition. We in the past have always declared war in the defense of our liberties or go to aid somebody. But now we have accepted the principle of preemptive war. We have rejected the just war theory of Christianity. And now, tonight, we hear that we're not even willing to remove from the table a preemptive nuclear strike against the country that has done no harm to us directly and is no threat to our national security. I mean, we have to come to our senses about this issue of war and preemption and go back to traditions and our Constitution and defend our liberties and defend our rights, but not to think that we can change the world by force of arms and to start wars.
Thank you, Congressman. Congressman Paul.
The President ran on a program of a humble foreign policy, no nation building and no policing of the world. And he changed his tune. And now we are fighting a war, and our foreign operations around the world to maintain our empire is now approaching $1 trillion a year. That's where the money's going, and that's where it has to be cut so we can take care of education and medical cares that are needed here in this country.
Governor Gilmore.
Texas Congressman Ron Paul.
The podium order was determined by a random drawing that included all 10 announced GOP candidates. Those candidates not here tonight are represented by an empty podium. Please tell me and this audience, in your own words, why you chose to be here tonight and what you say to those who chose not to be here tonight. Congressman Paul.
Well, the main reason I'm here is because I was invited, and I'm delighted that I was invited, and I'm very pleased because I go wherever I'm invited to talk about freedom. That, to me, is the most important thing, along with the emphasis on the Constitution. I believe so strongly that individuals have their rights and their life as a gift from God, and the purpose of government is to protect life and liberty. But I'd also like to extend that if you have the fruits of your labor, I would like you to keep the fruits of your labor as well. And under those conditions and under a freedom philosophy and under the Constitution, we would be so much more prosperous because we wouldn't be policing the world. We would be bringing our troops home, and we would take care of our people here at home.
Thank you, Congressman.
Even though a majority of individuals who have served as president since Abraham Lincoln have been Republican, I believe that most black Americans who will vote in the year 2008 are not able to name even one Republican president in the 142 years since Lincoln's death who have left a positive and significant legacy for black Americans. If you are elected president in 2008, what positive and significant legacy, if any, will you leave for Black Americans?
Paul?
I would like to believe that if we have a freer society, it will take care of blacks and whites and everybody equally, because we're all individuals, and to me that is so important. But if we had equal justice under the law, I think it would be a big improvement. If we had probably a repeal of most of the federal laws on drugs and the unfairness on how blacks are treated with these drug laws, it would be a tremendous improvement. And also, I think that if you're going to have prosperity, it serves everybody. And if this is done by emphasizing property rights and freedom of the individuals, making sure that the powerful special interests don't control Washington, that the military-industrial complex doesn't suck away all the wealth of the country, and then we will have prosperity. This is what we need, and we need to share it. The free society is the only society that can provide goods and services and distribute them in the most fair manner. And that is the society that I would advocate and argue for and believe it's available to us.
Thank you, sir. Senator Brownback.
But I have a bill in that might help a lot of people, black or white or whomever. I have a bill in that would immediately help these people who are trying to get a start, that they would never have to pay any taxes or payroll taxes if they just happen to be a waiter or waitress, to give them a chance to get ahead and get a good job.
Thank you, sir. Senator Brownback.
Congressman Paul, the most commonly cited statistic for the number of illegal immigrants living in the United States is 12 million people. Is it desirable, is it even practical, to try to send them all home? If the next Congress passes comprehensive immigration reform that includes a path to citizenship, will you sign it, or will you support sending the 12 million home?
I'm very sorry, but I didn't hear your last sentence because of the acoustics.
In the next Congress, if the next Congress passes immigration reform that includes a path to citizenship, will you sign it, or will you support sending the 12 million home?
I would not sign a bill like you described, because it would be construed and it would be amnesty, and I haven't supported amnesty. I also think that it's pretty impractical to get an army in this country to round up 12 or maybe 20 million. But I do believe that we have to stick to our guns when obeying the law, and anybody who comes in here illegally shouldn't be rewarded. And that would be the case. But I see the immigration problem as a consequence of our welfare state. Welfare because we encourage people not to work here, but the welfare we offer the people who come, they get free medical care, they get free education, they bankrupt our hospitals are closing, and it should not be rewarded. That means that if you don't round them up, you don't reward them, you don't give them citizenship. At the same time, you can't solve this problem until you get rid of the welfare state, because in a healthy economy, immigrants wouldn't be a threat to us. There would probably be a desire for more because we would be starved for workers. But today, they have become scapegoated because of the weak economy and the lowering of our standard of living.
Thank you, sir.
Tonight, as young black and Latino Americans are watching this debate, they often feel quite alienated from the Republican Party, a party that does not seem to respond to their issues. You realize about 50% of young black and Latino people dropping out of high school, 35% poverty rate, nearly 60% of America's prison population black and brown. The one area of these problems touching on federal government policy has to do with criminal justice. Today in Jena, Louisiana, it was announced that one of the Jena 6, originally convicted as an adult, will be tried now as a juvenile. Name one reform, Senator, that you would endorse to assure young black and Latino people in America that they will have equal justice in America's courts.
A system designed to protect individual liberty will have no punishments for any group and no privileges. Today, I think inner city folks and minorities are punished unfairly in the war on drugs. For instance, blacks make up 14% of those who use drugs, yet 36% of those arrested are blacks, and it ends up that 63% of those who finally end up in prison are blacks. This has to change. We don't have to have more courts and more prisons. We need to repeal the whole war on drugs. It isn't working. We have already spent over $400 billion since the early 70s, and it's a wasted money. Prohibition didn't work. Prohibition on drugs doesn't work. So we need to come to our senses, and absolutely, it's a disease. We don't treat alcoholics like this. This is a disease, and we should orient ourselves to this. That is one way you could have equal justice under the law.
Thank you, Congressman.